Okay, so here we go. I am, and it's going to try to start playing real quick. So hold on 1 minute as it gets started. I'm going to jump in
Okay,
here.
so
There we go. I'm going to jump in here and kind of do what we call like as if I was coaching a new team that's either trying to grow or that wants to start it, if you want to start a team. And that way we can make sure there's no holes that are in your team right now that maybe need to be plugged, or maybe come up with some ideas on how to do things just a little bit different. There's a few different ways this will help you, all right, as building your team. So first off with your teams, when I start coaching with someone for the first time, I always want to make sure that as I evaluate them and we go over things, I want to make sure they have their goals set. A lot of teams choose to take a goal and they don't actually get individual goals from the individual agents. They just have one team goal and everybody's shooting to reach the team goal. Great way to do it. Doesn't hurt anything at all. But I'm going to put a spin on that. And this was something that I got from my team leader years ago that, all of you know Kevin Blaine, where he had us do it a little different, or maybe it was something that some of the leaders came up with. I don't remember, but this is how we did it. If in order to come up with the team goal, we got to know what everyone's capability is of doing. All right. And so we've got to get all their team goals. Now, every quarter, we don't want to modify those goals, but sometimes towards the very, very end, depending on how they did, I always say the fourth quarter of the year, if they're way off balance, we still want them to succeed. So we want to have them modify that goal. But first off, we can't, it's hard. Now you can, but it's sometimes it's kind of hard to come up with a team goal if you don't know what their capability is or what they want to do. So that's why I'll say some coaches say, look, I'm just going to know what each individual team member on my team's capability is. I know what I think they can do. Some people say, okay, the minimum standards on my team, and this is usually a team that's more focused on, I like to call it the hard nose type of running a team versus the culture way of running a team, but it's a very profitable way of running a team. You're required to do this much business on my team, which means you have to show up to my daily. You have to show up to the office. You have to be doing these goals, these plans. You have to be focusing on your lead measures, going after these contacts. Here's the list of for sale by owners to call this week. Whatever it is they're choosing to do for their lead measures for their pillars of their business, and they're required to show up each day and do them in house. Great way to run a team. Excellent way of running a team. It's a very profitable, high performing team. You can intermix that and do that with a team that's just strictly culture based. But not everybody in that type of team is going to be able to do the type of production that maybe the next person's not. Maybe somebody is maybe a high S personality versus a high D personality or an I personality, and they're not very competitive. Maybe they're not competitive. Competition's important on a team. So that does kind of like mess things up sometimes. But I'll say this. So if you want to run a type of team and you say, look, we're just going to focus on the team goal and we're going to go after that team goal, great. You need to go through each individual agent and hold them accountable to their standards. Is it 12 per year? Is it 24 per year? Forever, it was 24 per year. Since the market kind of changed a little bit here in 2022, 2023, and 2024, and ended up shifting to a point where we don't have as much sales going on because interest rates went high, I would say it diminished down to closer to 12 per year on a team. So individual solo agents, they're closing five, six, something like that per year. But on a team, you create your team standards for each individual person, and that is their goals that they have to go after. Now that's how I create my team. I have a team of five, and say they're 10 per year is what I'm holding them accountable to do, or what they require to do on my team is minimum 10. And if they start falling below that, so month over month, we're guiding them to their goal every single day. They need to look at their 135 and make sure they've got those pillars they're working on every day, 5 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days if they're doing an open house, and making sure they're working on those. And if I'm holding each individual team member accountable 5 days a week minimum, then they should be able to hit these standards unless they just don't have what it takes to do this. Is now we can always go back to, you know, this isn't particularly a business that, everybody's going to be natural at. The problem is they're too salesy. So if they get to be themselves, the light switch will switch and they'll realize, dang it, this is the type of business I can just be myself. I don't have to be a salesman. And then all of a sudden they'll do better, right? So we can go back to that. They don't have to be like natural at this job to do really well at it. This is the one job they don't have to. So if we can get their mindset off of stop being salesy, usually we can get them to start. There's usually things we can do to get them to start hitting their minimum standards on the team. Okay, so say it's 10. I got 5 agents. That's 50. My goal is 50. Now, if I'm in production as a team leader, how many can I close? Did I close last year? Because I want to try to at least break through what I did this year. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So each year I'm trying to increase my sales as well. And that's easy to do if you're doing the lead measures because you're adding new people to your database every single day. You're growing the database. And if you're growing the database, you're increasing your sales each year. If you're not growing the database, you're staying the same or going backwards. And that's what we don't want to happen. We don't want to stay the same or go backwards. Now, of course, sometimes natural disasters, things happen that cause us to have that happen. Interest rates going crazy high, cause that to happen naturally a little bit. But that doesn't mean we keep a forward momentum. So, last year I closed 100 units last year. Okay, 99 units. Okay. Well, the year before we closed 194. The year before that, we closed 256. Okay, so does that mean I'm still shooting for 256? No. The market forced me to go backwards. So now what am I going to do? So my goal is, okay, 99 last year. I want to try to get back on track. So let's shoot for 110, 120, maybe 150, depending on how many people I have on my team. Let's try to grow it. So we use those numbers, what they're capable to do, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So 50 closings on the team. Maybe I have the ability to do 40. So that's 90 closings is my goal. Or easier way is to help each agent individually come up with their goals. And now I know, okay, so they have the capability to do 6. That last year they did 2. They want to shoot for 6 this year. So now I have 6 for agent number 1. Number 2 did 10 last year. He wants to try to do 12. So now I have 6. That's 16, 17, 18. That's 18 now. So now I'm up to 18. Okay, so I can do it that way. As you can see, the minimum standards changes the game. I've got a much better, higher sales rate. When I'm going off of what they think they can do, it's much lower. That's why a lot of coaches will say, don't do it that way. But I'm going to say that this coach is like, okay, what is each agent's capability? So I kind of do it that way. You choose which way you want to do it. You choose. It's your choice to run your team the way you run your team. But ultimately, the first thing I want to find out is what is their goal. And then as I break it down like it just did to you right now, I find all kinds of holes. Find out all kinds of holes. Do they have a business plan set up? Could be a 135 form. It could be some other business plan they have set up. Do they have it? If they don't individually have a business plan for the team, or going the other way, each individual agent has their own business plan that feeds the team goal. What is it? Do they each individual person have that business plan set up? And do you have it somewhere, either in a manual, a book, a team goals book, or up on the wall in picture frames? But it needs to be visible for everybody to see these are our goals. I used to have a war room in the back, I called it. That's the war room. That's where we went in to make calls. That was when I was in town and I was living there. I had this war room and it was cool. And then when I moved to Idaho, people stopped using it, of course. The war room was full of, if you went in there, there was scripts all over the wall and picture frames. There was 135 forms all over the place. It's the place where we go to work each day. It might be 2 hours, might be 4 hours. But we go in there, put our head down, put our headset in, and we work. That's awesome. Okay, a great war room, something like that. Something that actually allows you to go in and get some work done. We battle the battle, and then we go home and enjoy our family. Or we go show some houses in the afternoon if hopefully, we produce some income and some opportunities and we go out and show. Okay, so business plan. Number 3, what's your lead generation pillars? Everybody might have the same ones. Is it team leads? If you got those are easy because we got a flow of team leads coming in. Everyone can sit down and focus on those team leads together, making calls. We use scripts, we practice our scripts, we focus on those. Lead generation pillars. Now, I'm thinking about changing my 135 up a little bit. I'm telling you, all the coaches in the world right now are going, what is he doing? Why is he thinking this? Forever, I said, your pillars of your business is like a house over the ocean, like, you know, that fancy vacation spot you like to go to or you wish you could go to, that's got those bungalows out over the beautiful crystal clear water where you can see the sand underneath, and they've got these 4 pillars holding the house up. Now, I've always said, you know, your 135 form, your business plan, has your wildly important goal, your 3 blanket items you're focusing on, all right? And then your 5 breaking them down activities that need to be forcing the 3, that forces the 1 and allows you to kind of you set up your daily schedule. And then you can do the 1-3-5-5, they call it, that gives you the 5 where you actually break it down even more to daily, hourly activities and whatnot. What if we changed it a little bit to this? You got your 1, you got your 4 pillars, because you need 4 pillars to hold a house up over the water. If you have 3, it might fall in the water. So I'm thinking of changing it to 4 focus areas. 4 main focus areas I want to focus on to feed the 1. Okay, inventing the wheel, right? Shouldn't be inventing the wheel. It's worked for years, keep doing the same. That's how my visual brain works. Okay, I got my house over the water. I got my 4 pillars that are holding this house over the water so it doesn't sink. The house is my business. The pillars are holding it up. Now I'm going to focus on each individual pillar. Okay, whether that's for sale by owners and expireds, needs a time in my schedule. Whether it's door knocking and for an open house this weekend and an open house, that needs to be in my schedule. Whether it's team leads, that needs to be in my schedule. SOI, SOI. I can't bend that one without that one bending. SOI needs to be in your schedule. That is your feeding ground. That is what we want. The whole reason why we're doing all these other pillars is to grow that SOI, that database of returning clients. So, kind of my thought. Maybe I'm a fool for thinking it and saying it out loud, but that's how I'm doing my business. Is I want 4 pillars holding my house up over the water. So what are your lead generation pillars, and what are the lead generation pillars each and every agent is focusing on? Are they doing that? Is that something you check every week? How did you do on your pillars? Joe, okay, on my team. Joe, you have your pillars are, and they better be able to say them out loud. If they don't, they're not looking at their 1-3-5. What is your pillar 1? What is your pillar 2? What is your pillar 3? Or if you're doing my new way of doing it, what's your pillar 4? Okay. So they should all be able to know what their lead generation pillars are. They're focusing on their business that's going to, in 2024. You want to change it 2025? Go for it. 2024, stick to your pillars. Stick to what you plan. Stick to your business plan and do it. The problem is most agents fall off that business plan. They find the squirrel, get rich quick scheme somewhere else, or they think it is, and they forget their dang pillars of their business. They stop focusing on it. They need to focus and stick to the plan, stick to the business plan. It was a good idea from the beginning, stick to it. The problem is the consistency. They lose consistency, and so they find something smarter or that looks cooler somewhere else and they start doing it. Maybe it's AI these days. Maybe they're focused on a new AI tool. Great idea. Make that part of your business plan next year. Play around with it this year, but make sure you don't let it get in the way of your pillars or your pillars. Okay. So you got your lead generation pillars of your business, things that are holding your business up, things you're focusing on this year. Okay, next, number 5 is your profit goal, your time goal, and your numbers goal. What are they? What is your profit goal? What are you wanting to profit this year? What is your time goal you want to spend on this? And what's your numbers goal? I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that because it's self-explanatory. And last but not least, what are you not doing that if you start doing it today would change your business dramatically? Each and every agent needs to be able to tell me that, because if they're, unless they have on track, reaching their goal, passing through their goals right now, they may not have anything, but most likely they still will have something that they're not doing today, or that they didn't do last week or the week prior, that would change their business dramatically if they could get it on their calendar and do it consistently over and over again. Okay. All right, so that's my first coaching call, guys, with a team leader. The very first one, I want to make sure they have that on track, ready to go. All right, so then the next coaching call, the number two, I'm going to talk about where we're at right now. What are we doing right now? Okay, do you have an organizational chart or a 5-year business plan? I always go over that. I want to make sure that they have their org chart set up. There's several different types of org charts. You can have the traditional team org chart. You can have a hybrid team. All right. So do you have a hybrid team where traditional team is more like you have a listing specialist, you have a buyer specialist. They don't cross. They can promote. That's fun to promote somebody to a listing specialist. But most agents need to do some transactions before they do the listing side. Listing side is much more salesy. It's much more you need to have your product and you're selling your product. That's why they choose you. So usually the top producers on the team are promoted up to listing specialist. That's your traditional team. And then you have your buyer specialist. You might have your buyer lead specialist is the one that kind of helps coach all those. You have your seller top number one lead specialist, and they coach all those, or maybe your listing manager or your buyer manager, buyer sales manager. So anyway, that's a traditional team. All right, everybody's got a spot. They've got a position. Really great team I coached with before I was even an ICC coach. I coached with this lady out of Texas. I had a chance to coach with her a little bit. She was like me. I was the general manager of a real estate team, of a 60 agent real estate team. And she wanted to coach with me because they were working on building their team. They ran a traditional style team. Their org chart on their team was traditional, but theirs was another level. So they had an inside sales team, client concierge, some people call them. And that inside sales team, ISA, every brand new agent on their team, doesn't matter what type of experience they had to start out in the ISA department for 2 weeks or until they've converted one lead to an agent that has been a hot lead that agent is now going to sell them a house. So it had to be that hot of a lead. So they either started out two full weeks in there, or they convert someone. Then they can promote over to buyer specialist. And then they can promote over to listing specialist. So it doesn't matter how long they've been on the team, that was the requirement. Promotion within the team. Now they're promoting within the team, right? Hybrid team is a little more, everyone can take, sell or buy side. They can do either side. Work doesn't matter. By the way, to go back to the other one, if you get an SOI on some of those traditional teams, that SOI, if you're not a listing specialist, goes over to the listing side. If you're a buyer specialist and you get a referral off of it, but they actually help. That's a true traditional team. Now the hybrid, of course, anyone can do anything. You get a listing, you get a listing. Good job, you got it. You got to buy, you get a buy. But usually still with the hybrid, if you don't have the experience yet, you got to do it with someone else. Because or you're really hands-on with the team leader, and the team leader's helping you do it. The team leader's doing it, but they're doing it with you and helping you with it along the process. But they want to teach you, so they want you to be that person. The organizational chart is important because everyone needs to know where their jobs are, what their job title is. And this is something really cool that you got the team leader breaks down. You've got everybody's got their seat on the bus. Everyone has their seat on the bus. And then this is really cool because you can also hang that on the wall so that everybody knows where they're at. And then as they promote, they change, they move. I've seen people do this where they have shelves on their wall. The top shelf is the team leader. Second one is the CEO of the company, or vice versa. CEO of the company, team leader. And then the next shelf is pictures. It's pictures. So picture this in your brain. It's pictures of different people on the team that are on these different shelves. So that's a lot of shelves. It takes up a whole wall, and you end up having all these different pictures. And the pictures can move as they promote up the team. It's pretty awesome and pretty fun way to do it because people like to see their picture move, like to see it move to the next step. Can someone promote all the way up to manager and general manager? Yeah, that's what I did on the team. I started out as buyer's agent on the team. There's only 5 of us on the team. As the team grew, I ended up promoting over to listing specialist, and I was taking a lot of the listings from our team leader. He was giving me a ton, probably almost 100% of them. And then eventually I ended up becoming the manager of the team, and then eventually the general manager of the team. So that's what you can do. They can promote within the team. Okay, so moving down the line, you have your org chart, you have your team organizational graph. That's the graphical part we talked about. So that's coaching call number two. That could take a little bit, that call. And so sometimes that call goes a little long. Not as many things, but as you see, each coaching call is totally full. We got a lot going on. Coaching call number three, your job description and big rocks. If you don't remember what big rocks is, you better Google that. Okay, we're talking Stephen Covey. We're talking your old Century 21 agent. It's actually 1990s video. I think it's 94, something like that. I used to say it was an 80s video because she looked like she had the big hair from the 80s, and she was wearing a red blazer, believe it or not, red blazer, so it looked very professional. She comes up on stage with Stephen Covey, and he has these buckets, small rocks, big rocks. Can you fit the big rocks into the small rocks, into the small rock jug? Nope, it overflows. But if you put all the small rocks over the big rocks, so you focus on your big rocks first, the small rocks will fit. So we want to focus on the big rocks. So that's the job description. That's where we really break it down. A detailed job description creates the standards for the teams, keeps the team in their role. So we want to make sure we're focusing on getting the team and each team member in the right, correct role. Okay. We want to detail it out and have some sort of a plan of attack for money and responsibilities and vacations. This was really fun one year. We want to make sure they had vacations, but I got to actually send someone in my team on vacation. Think about the pharmaceutical reps, how they win awards and they get to go. So one of the awards we won for a competition we were doing was you got to go stay at a condo up at a lake community, and it was fully paid for by the team. You got to go stay there. So, creating opportunities for people to win awards within the team. Having detailed training procedures. Do you have a procedural book for your team? I provide that in coaching. I provide one that's just plug and play that you can just, plug things in. If you want one of those, email it to me. I'll give you a copy of one and you can turn around and plug it in and make your own out of it. It's a policy and procedures book for your team. There's other things like learning curves we can jump into, the training plan for activities. So how are we going to train them to focus on their activities that's going to cause them to get into business fast and get moving? Are we training them from ground up? Do you have a training calendar? If they don't, I have one already created. I think it's 8 or 9 week training calendar for a brand new agent that they show up, they meet with the admin in the morning, they start watching videos on how to use the CRM, and then right away in the afternoon, we want them to start getting into that CRM. Day two, they're working in the morning, they're working that CRM because that's the most important place for them to be working every day is in that CRM. And then as they work, they're going through the CRM, and then guess what? They get back into training because that's what we all have to do is train every day. Doesn't matter if you've been in the business for 50 years and you're selling 1,000 homes a year. Doesn't matter. There's always new things changing. And so we've got to constantly be feeding our brain with new stuff. So every day we teach them from the beginning. New agents need to be inside of a training. Once they're done with their morning lead measures, time to watch a training video. Okay. And then in the afternoon, they're servicing the clients. And then they'll end the day with another training video. And then next day, that whatever they learned that day before, they're going to put into motion the next morning. And then we keep them going through all the modules and get them going. So every day they're training. That next thing you know what, they've mastered this. By week 8, they have mastered this job. They've got it down. Now they may not be mastery yet, but they mastered the basics of what it takes to get into production, and they are in production because they've been making calls every day. Because the videos is teaching them how to train or how to do the job, what to say. It's giving them scripts. There's time in that weekly schedule for script practice. There's time in that schedule for them to meet the team leader to see how it's going and where you're at. What holes have you missed? That training calendar, onboarding calendar for every new agent that comes in, doesn't matter if they've got 50 years of experience. You're going to find those agents that have 50 years of experience have a lot of bad habits. So we do make them go through that training calendar as well. I got one in Canada I was coaching. It was a team member of the team leader I was coaching. And I actually took some time and started coaching him. He'd been in the business so long and he was so good at it, but he had so many holes. He did not know what lead measures versus lag measures even were. It just worked for him. And there's a lot of people like that. He had a lot of clients he was working with, but nobody was structured. He didn't have a CRM. Back in the day before CRMs were a real thing, people used filing cabinets. And so each month they had an amount of people that were in that filing cabinets that they had to pull out that file, go through it, make sure they call those people, add a few new people to it, filling out lead sheets, we call them lead sheets. And then that file would go back into the back of the file. And then tomorrow they'd work on the next one. Call those people in that file. And these, we're talking those manila looking files in a filing cabinet. What's the difference? That's a CRM, client retention management system. Nowadays, we have a really nice electronic one. We teach the agents how to use it. So that agent didn't even know how to use that. He just liked to go to events. He was really good at the guitar and he liked to go to events and do things. He was good at it, really good at it. So to structure them and get some of those bad habits out of there, even agents that have been in the business a long time need to go through that onboarding to make sure they have all the tools for them to be more successful than they ever were. You want that on your team. You want them to have that type of structure in their team. You really do. Okay. So again, we want to make sure everybody's watched that Big Rock video. So I always have the new agents watch it so they understand it. Even though it's an old video, it makes so much sense. These days, you jump into 4 disciplines of execution, which is another. It goes along with it with the big rocks. It kind of covers that, but it changes it to you have your wildly important goal. You have your lead measures versus lag measures. You focus on the lead. You have your number 4. You're focusing on your scoreboard, or if you're keeping score, you should always know if you're keeping score. You should always know whether or not you're on track to win the game. You got to be keeping the score. And then number 4, fourth discipline is that cadence of accountability. That's our huddle up. Let's hold each other accountable. Let's help each other. Are you reaching it? There's a really good video I watched once where 4 disciplines of execution was used for a shopping center, a grocery store. And it was such a good video. It was great. And it kind of showed how they were able to get all these people that didn't want to show up. And like each person, whether they're sweeping, they're in charge of sweeping the aisles, they have a job. And if they're doing the best they can and they have a goal of what they want to do and go after to sweep the aisles, next thing you know, not only are the aisles swept, but they're polished and they're beautiful because their goal was to make it better than it was before. And now they have a purpose. So it's a great video, by the way, great one for 4 disciplines of execution. And that's all I'm going to get into today. So that's the first 3 coaching calls I typically do. And as you can see, when you start going through this, guys, you start seeing there could be some holes as we start to go through these. And each time that we meet and go over the team leaders coaching call like this, group coaching call, we'll add more. So I'll jump into 4, 5, and 6 next. There's like 18 of them in there. So there's plenty of these to go through. So we'll keep growing this as we go through it, but I hope that was helpful today, everybody. Any questions?
It was good. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome, sir. Thanks for being here, and I hope you get something out of it, man.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good week.
All right. See ya.
Great weekend, everybody.